When I was in school, if you were caught playing games outside of recess, you went to the principal's office. You know, a lot's changed since then, including the extinction of the Ditto machine, thankfully. But not enough has changed because educators are still resistant to the idea of using games inside the classroom for learning. Recent research suggests that children who engage in video games also engage in literacy skills that are not widely recognized outside the classroom. But did you know one study showed that struggling readers ages 6 to 9 were willing to interact with the paratext in digital games? And paratext is often rigorous expository or procedural text, but they were willing to interact with this to decode meaning, and they did so successfully. And those texts were written at 12th grade and post-secondary levels. That's not enough as evidence. Another important aspect of game-based learning is that it requires students to need to know the information. And that information, rather than being pre-taught, is taught while students are engrossed in the quest or the task at hand. So this encourages active learning and engagement. And in my own experience, when material is pre-taught, it seems unimportant to students at the time, and then transfer and recall are significantly lower at critical times when students need to retrieve that material. So with the motivation and the need to know factor, I would say that definitely gives the green light to using games in the classroom and recognizing their value. Al Doyle of Sports for the Mind states that game design is this generation's mode of discourse. He says it's as mainstream as cinema, and 100 years ago, nobody could study cinema in school. Now, every school has a cinematography course. Katie Salen also makes a compelling argument for digital games when she says that game design fosters collaboration and multimodality, and that's being able to work with text and images and story in a lot of different mediums. Both of these are crucial 21st century skills, and another thing with games is that students are in charge of their own learning, so they have the incentive to get to the next level and to complete a complex task and push ahead. Finally, Tech Thought takes an approach to gaming, or as they say, gamification, that I really never considered before. It says that life is gamified in a way. Everything from comparing financial portfolios to earning Boy Scout badges. I mean, they're games, so they're not games actually, but they tend to morph into games as we collect more stock and collect more badges, etc. And it makes sense because I have seen some gamification in my own classroom. I used to use grammar games, not digitally, just, old school whiteboard and projector competitions, and students were extremely engaged. Not only did they ace their tests, but they were also able to think critically about grammar. For example, they were able to explain why a sentence would or would not need a comma, not just a comma goes here because my teacher says so. I really liked the idea of doing a virtual play like they did with Aesop's Fables, but unfortunately with the new design of my courses, now being only 8 weeks and having 3 pass-fail assessments, designing games is just not a possibility, although I could see great potential for it. But perhaps in some form, we could use some digital games in the classroom to get some of these benefits out of our students. And I think that educational institutions would be wise to rethink their current policies on literacy and really consider a whole new paradigm. The ubiquitous online community, it's a key component to student learning outside of school. And, education needs to take advantage of that in order to design lessons consistent with students' natural inclinations for learning.